This is Boxes and Briefs, a podcast with real-life business stories. But we will be asking the hard questions and challenging traditions. So broaden your thinking with fresh perspectives and solve problems for business success. And welcome to another episode of Boxes and Briefs. My name's Lisa.
I'm Lucy.
And today we have with us Dale Clareburt from Weirdly. Hello.
Kia ora.
So Dale is the co-founder and CEO of Weirdly and describes herself as a business leader, HR tech expert and future of work enthusiast. Her passion is developing people to achieve more than they thought possible and challenging traditional business structures and methods, which we love, challenging the traditions.
That's right. That's why I became an entrepreneur.
Hey, tell us about that. What is your business?
Well, my business is Weirdly, although recently it's joined another one, which I'll talk about shortly. Mm-hmm. But Weirdly is a piece of HR tech or people technology. Mm-hmm. The focus, or where the idea came from, was my background is I've been in recruitment agencies for a long time. So recruitment as a career in an industry sector for me, 25 years. Yeah. And one of my frustrations was always that when people are interviewing candidates, they look at a CV or a resume as a representation of a person, and it's not it's not the whole person.
No, it's not.
And it just seems a shame that there isn't a little bit more information about someone so they can showcase themselves a bit more. And so one of the skills that I have with my experience and the people in the business with me is the ability to get people to take their interview uniform off and show you who they really are so that you can match them with the culture and the purpose of an organisation. And I was working with some small businesses. Juicy Rentals was one of them, and Tim Alp said if you could build me a product that would help mitigate the risk of me getting someone who wasn't aligned with my purpose and values, then I would buy it. And so we built it, and we built a culture fit quiz assessment style product, which was focused on how well a applicant was aligned with the values and purpose of a specific organisation.
I think way back in the day you described this as you found something that was a bit weird and some character traits and that kind of like, it was that weirdly, all of the people played a stringed instrument. They didn't all know it at the time, but it kind of came out in conversations with them. Yeah,
that can be the case. So in some cases, people were naturally attracted to people that are similar to them, but in the long term, we're looking for a more diverse group of people. So we did start down that path, Lisa. You're right, back in the day. But it was a learning journey for us to understand that really there's a place for everyone in the world inside a business. It's just finding the one where you feel most naturally aligned. Yeah. A lot of people have very strong values, and some they prioritise more than others. But the way an organisation demonstrates those values can be quite unique.
Yes, I was going to say, it sounds like a really hard ask. Like you want diversity, and you want those diverse people to be aligned with the same, I guess, mission, vision, values of the company.
Yeah, it's about prioritising the things that are important. So if we think about a value like honesty or integrity, everyone wants to be that value, but some people it's a very, very strong value for them, and others not as strong. They might value collaboration as higher than that. Yeah. And it's about finding the people that are aligned most strongly to your values. And that's because they put that into their thinking and their behaviours, but the way that they conduct a task or themselves might be slightly different and unique, and that's fine, and that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
Because there is a correlation between values alignment and job satisfaction, and then as a result you do get better output from people.
Okay, so when did you start?
We started in 2014, 2015. So we had a trial and test period, 2014. And then in 2015, we incorporated the business.
Okay.
But as I said, that's what we started as. It's certainly not what we ended up being.
So that means you survived the GFC?
We absolutely did survive the GFC. And that's because 2015 to 2018, we were doing all of our experimenting, and we realised that it took a while for us to achieve product market fit. Right. And now we realised we achieved product market fit in 2019, and we raised capital off the back of that. So that was just before COVID.
Yeah.
The GFC was before 2014. I just realised you were asking me about that. That was a little before. So I thought you meant COVID. So that's what I was talking about. And so we raised capital just before COVID hit. And
was that lucky?
Well, it was lucky in some respects. The purpose of the capital was actually to go offshore.
Oh.
So we achieved product market fit when we took our culture assessment and put it into much larger organisations. When we first met Lisa, I was focusing on small businesses. The journey over those 5 or 6 years, once we trialled and tried different pricing, and that's really tricky, hard path to navigate.
Yeah.
We realised that our product worked best when it was able to be used hundreds of thousands of times rather than just thousands. So when we were assessing candidates, we went from doing 1 to 8,000 per client a year to 500,000 with one customer.
Wow.
And so the value in the data that you're collecting in that time is amazing.
Yeah.
So as a result of us having that product, and then we implemented it into their recruitment strategy, they asked us to build more. So we started from a tech stack perspective, or the processes of recruitment. We usually sit in the part where someone's already applied and we want to get them assessed.
Yes.
We took over the application part, right through to booking an interview. And so we were booking thousands and thousands of interviews as well. And the speed difference that we made and the efficiencies we made for our customers were overnight.
That's amazing.
And that helped us to be able to raise the capital because it was
Yeah.
just a perfect use case. And then we were going to go to the UK and then COVID. So we had that money and we decided to stay in ANZ.
Right.
Okay. It makes sense. All right. How did you market it? Get into the marketing of how did the businesses find out about you? What were you doing?
Well, there are 4 founders in Weirdly, and one of them had the marketing job, so she's our VP of marketing, and her background actually is in brand strategy. That's Karen Phillips, and she performed miracles for no dollars on the regular. So she put an awful lot of work into creating a marketing strategy, found all the ways that we could do things for free.
Wow.
A lot of that was content writing and then marketing. She created the brand and the personality of Weirdly. And we had a lot of blog writing happening, a lot of new feature releases that we talked about.
Yep.
And it was quite a quirky personality. And I also went to every event, and if anyone asked me to speak, I said yes. And we developed a brand from that.
Wow.
But also, we just, off the back of that and off some really great client and testimonials, we just called people or got referred.
Cold calling.
I guess not so much
Warm
cold calling or reaching out via LinkedIn or responding to anyone that commented on any of our content.
Right.
And actually
Just
engaging with
a
it
lot.
is very,
So
very...
you did the hard work.
Yeah, it feels very natural now because we've been doing it for 10 years. It's as natural as breathing to be able to work in that social network. But you've also got to know the right ones to use for your customer base.
Yep.
Because we were looking to launch into the US in the early years, and I did a big trip in 2016. We did a lot of work because that was a lot of money for a small business to spend to send someone to the US. And I'd never been before. And we were part of the NZTE export customer top 800, I think.
Yeah.
And so we got a few handshakes and a few introductions when we landed there.
Nice.
But in my first time going there, I met with Facebook and went there, and Google. I went to places,
Facebook and Google?
and PayPal, and I went to all of the places that you think that you couldn't get to because they let us in. And I met with McDonald's in Chicago. They're in Oprah Winfrey's old TV studios. I went everywhere.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Well, it felt like it. It felt like I had no right being there, to be quite honest. I just didn't know how it happened. Now, some of those things we got further conversations, some of them we didn't. We had 6 people in the business when I went over.
Right.
In 2016. So it was a massive leap, but that's what you've got to do.
Yeah.
You've got to be brave. You've got to go over there. You've
Yeah.
got to go to all the networking events. You've got to walk up to people and introduce yourselves.
Yeah.
And the American way of doing business is very different. There's no preamble or chit-chat in the meetings. They're kind, lovely people, but you learn very quickly that you walk into a meeting and it starts with, I have a hard stop in 25 minutes. What can I do for you?
Okay.
That's how it works.
Right.
Which is great. So you can do 10 meetings in a day and do quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can work in that environment.
That's right.
Yeah.
But We didn't have. In hindsight, we didn't have enough money. You need a lot of money to be able to go into the US.
Okay.
So that's why when we came back and just before COVID, we decided we were going to the UK. That was off the back of winning an account with Vodafone back then, Vodafone Global. We took a punt in 2020, just before, I think I was one of the last flights or something back into New Zealand before COVID. And we went over and thought, we'll just go and pitch in real life. So we just flew over.
Yeah.
And we beat all the local competitors out and won that piece of business. So it was just, again, if you want to go win business somewhere like that, you've got to go.
Yeah.
You've got to be there.
Yeah.
Be bold.
Yeah, because we're actually really good. The Kiwis are fantastic in presentations. We're enthusiastic. We're grateful to be there.
Yeah.
We know our stuff because every penny counts. We don't... I would want to say take the piss. We're very respectful of the opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
And we sound a bit different and we look different.
Do
we just present differently. We're very casual but engaging and authentic, and people love that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, we don't rock up in suits. Oh my goodness. I see sometimes people when you're going and you're presenting in a day and you get a slot and you see your competitor coming in or out.
Yeah.
And just some of them are so stuffy. But anywho, it's, I shouldn't say that, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what was Weirdly's reach in the end?
From a headcount perspective, or do you mean like customer...
Location, country?
Yeah. So from a people perspective, we did in our heyday, and the biggest point when we had about 25 people, we had someone in San Francisco, we had 6 or 7 people in Australia, the rest of the business here. Those people offshore were in the sales and customer experience side of the business. The product stayed here, so from a coding and engineering perspective, that remained in New Zealand. I flew everywhere.
Yep.
We did get that one customer in the UK, and we would have had more had we kept going there. But when we started, it was New Zealand, Australia, the US. Then we were retrenching from the US, going UK. And when we were SME, we got up to 100 customers. But when we got to where we thought we should be, we were probably sitting around that 15 to 20. And the balance of those customers, we had a couple of whales in there, and that's always a big risk, and that's one of the reasons why we moved into an acquisition conversation with someone, because we had 2 whales and we knew that if we lost one that it was going to have an impact and mean material changes for us as a business.
Tell us some more learnings of that entrepreneurial journey. I know there's so many.
There's a couple. Maybe if we focus on, for me, so I said there were 4 founders.
Yeah.
When we started the business, we were quite starry-eyed, and we said we're not going to have standard job titles, we're not going to have a CEO and those things. And I said, well, I don't mind what happens so long as I'm not the CEO and I don't end up in this business on my own.
Okay.
And so 6 months later, I was the CEO.
Oh.
Now, the reason for that, so the reason I tell that story is actually if you're raising capital and that's your decision, and some people bootstrap for longer, and in hindsight, I wish we had.
Yeah.
But the investors need to know who to talk to.
Yeah.
So sometimes what you, in order to access the capital that you need or the relationships that you need, people need to be able to understand very quickly who does what, and so that they can talk to the right people.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, then why do you wish you'd bootstrapped for longer?
The reason is because when we first started, and this is common of New Zealand businesses or start-up tech 10 years ago, is that we give away too much of our business early on in return for capital. And I am very grateful. We're the best investors, Punukaiki, and now 2040 Ventures. They've been amazing. But we didn't, me personally, our side didn't think carefully about the long term of every time we raise capital, we lose a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now, there's 2 parts to that. One is you can become demotivated as a founder if you don't own as much. But I think more importantly is when you start to get to a point where you want to raise big money, and I'm not saying big, I mean big New Zealand, not big the USA, but big New Zealand, like $5 million.
Yeah.
The people that write those checks are a different kind of investor sometimes, and they look at your cap table, and if your cap table is a little bit messy, like there's too many people as who have ownership or shares, then that can be unappealing to potential investors in the future.
Right.
The other part is that, because I'm a second-time founder now, you have to sometimes do the first one to work out how to do the second one. You've got to take those learnings.
Okay.
And I know I could have bootstrapped for longer. Even 6 to 12 months might have made a difference to our outcome because we would have known a bit more.
Yeah.
Because you spend your first couple of years making mistakes when you're in a hyper-growth mindset. So you'd rather not be using someone else's capital sometimes to do that. Or, sorry, you'd rather not have given up so much of your business.
Yeah.
I will tell you now that the market in New Zealand is really great. Well, much more improved. There are other ways to get capital now.
Yeah.
And everyone's a little bit more sophisticated and mature and understands the market. There are just more people and there's more money available. It's still not easy to get, but it's just matured.
Yeah.
There's a lot more knowledge out there, but I didn't know anything. People were talking to me about, I didn't know what a cap table was. I'd never owned a business. I didn't know what, there's all these different names that you have for ways that you can do it, convertible notes and a safe, or what does that mean? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? I didn't know any of that. So from a bit of advice, be prepared for one of the hardest and fastest self-development programs you'll ever do.
Right.
Because I speak a different language now.
Yeah.
The knowledge that I have now and the experience, I can't believe I have it. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing is that we tend to be very frugal as a nation. So I went real cheap. So whenever I travelled, I would only travel economy, which is because I didn't want to spend money, and I would stay in youth hostels and homes. Do you know what? It actually was cool. So
Okay.
I was okay with that, but I did that and I went alone. And I think that's a wasted opportunity when you're going somewhere to really important meetings that are hard to get in a different country, having someone else's point of view in those meetings, that I might have missed an opportunity, I might have missed something. I think that was something that I would do differently next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Still economy, but take someone with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know other founders that went together and they had these routines and they did feedback and they'd go to events and then do feedback. And I think that was a wasted opportunity.
Might have learned faster.
Maybe. Narrower focus. As a salesperson by my nature, if someone wants to buy something, I'll build it. So that kind of got us in trouble in the first few years.
Just saying yes.
Yeah, and then
Right.
and because we could build it, but at the end of the day, you have to learn that there's got to be people that don't want what you're selling, is actually a real strength. And this is one of the things that Kieran taught us about brands. He said a brand is good if it alienates people. Because those are the people you don't want. It makes the people that you do want
You're
feel
finding your
better.
tribe. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And they keep coming back. And so that narrow focus would have really saved us a little bit. So it took us a lot longer to get to product market fit than it should have.
So maybe people pleasers shouldn't be entrepreneurs until they've done it one or two times?
Maybe. It's not so much the people pleasing, although I get what you're saying. It's about money. So as a CEO, and cash flow is king.
Yeah.
If I can get some money and that's going to buy me a runway of an extra 6 months, then I'll build it. So what happened as well for us as a business, I was stuck in that mode all the time. I was raising capital, running the finances. And if you're always focused and always looking at life through that lens, then it takes away the creativity and the innovation because you're just chasing the dollar.
Okay.
And I fell into that a few times, a lot. I don't know why I said a few, all the time. And particularly in the end.
Yeah.
And it leads to not the best product.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Boxes and Briefs is proudly brought to you by Gilligan Shepherd, the problem solvers in business.
All right, Dale. Tell us the top 3 priorities for when it comes to running your own business.
Well, I kind of said it already, but number 1 is cash flow or money.
Yeah.
The reason why it's so important is that if you can have a runway or you've got enough money covering your costs and you're profitable, then the decisions that you make about the future are better because you're thinking about it from an innovation and staying true to your values and your brand and what it is that you're there to do, rather saying yes to any money that can walk in the door.
Okay.
So that's my number 1 is making sure that you're either working as quickly as possible to profitability or you have a big war chest full of money.
Yep. The dream.
The dream. The second one, this is my personal one for me, I would never do it alone. So I didn't this time.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't ever. So there were 4 of us. I don't think 4 was too many. Some people told us that it was. But I'd say you need at least 2 because it's a very lonely path. Having worked in senior roles inside smaller businesses, I thought I knew what it meant, but it's not the same as owning your own business.
Yeah.
If you are financially responsible for every person sitting around you and for the results and to shareholders and investors.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't
It's
do
a
it
lot of
alone.
pressure.
Also, lots more fun. Lots more fun to do it with somebody else. The third one for me, another personal one, is to put yourself first. So health is something that I put on hold for a long time. And I would, if as an example, so I mentioned to you I start very early in the morning to go to the gym. I'll get up, I'll be at the gym by 4:15. And that's because no one can interrupt me and I am committed to never missing it because it's for me.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, I would put work first always.
Yeah.
And as a result, I nearly burned out. And so you've got to understand this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And you've got to look after yourself and give yourself the break that you need.
Yeah.
Look up, and whatever that is, walk the dog.
Yep. Fair.
Yeah, sing out loud in the shower. Whatever is going to help you. Mine is working out at the gym.
Right. So then in your Weirdly journey, what was the scariest part of it all?
It sounds terrible. The scariest part is, 2 scary parts.
Okay.
Doing something I've never done before, so over and over and over again. So the first time I went to America, I was very scared. I'd never been there, and I'd set myself a ridiculous. I went to 5 cities, and I met with 50 people, and I had to walk up and do all of that, and that was a bit scary because of the burden of responsibility, but also I was travelling alone, and that was new for me. But it was the first time. I did it 10, 20 more times after that, so it stopped being scary.
Okay.
And then the first time when I felt like we weren't going to be able to make payroll. But I got used to that because that happened for 10 years. So I got used to managing money and getting close to the line.
Yeah.
So it's the first time that you do something that it's scary, but once you've done it, it's not scary anymore.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go a little bit off track. I want to know what it was that you fed yourself to keep going. What gave you the spark, the
resilience. There's a bit of resilience. I naturally am a very resilient, tenacious person. A lot of that comes from my parents and the way that I was brought up. Hard work trumps everything.
Yes.
And I don't believe that I believe anything is possible. And I believe that the human condition can do more than they think they can. So if someone tells you can't do something, then you absolutely can. You have to do it.
I feel the same. I feel if somebody tells me that I can't, I'm more determined to do it.
Well, I also, I set myself goals and I have to achieve them. And there's a saying that you can always do more. Now, I know that contradicts looking after your health, but what I've done is I've continued to do everything. I've just added more in. Okay.
No, I get it.
I just believe that you can do more, but also repeatedly doing things that scare you builds resilience because people aren't out to get you. When you stand up on a stage, and Lisa, when I met you, we used to do that networking group, and I was so scared standing out, pitching my business for a minute.
Yeah.
This is 10, 15 years ago.
Yep.
And I can do that now. But I had to keep doing it.
Yep.
And the more I did it, then I wasn't scared and I became more resilient.
Yeah.
And in a startup, in your own business, you're doing that every single day.
Yeah.
And you actually become addicted to it. Because when you don't have too much to do or you don't have something in front of you that might scare you, a challenge or something like that, you can feel bored.
Yes. You're speaking my language.
It's not for everyone.
No, it's not.
So
But
get
it's
the first
definitely
time over with. And then,
And then keep going.
You wouldn't believe what you're capable of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agree. Okay, so was there a particular moment in your entrepreneurial journey where you actually felt the tingles of, this might work, I've made it, I might make it? Or that you
would have
had
been-
made it?
Yeah, well, last year, although it was tough, we had a moment of, and I would say, when I say a moment, I mean 3 to 5 days, where a couple of things converged. So our product used to just be used by recruiters in an organisation. So a large enterprise organisation might have 10 people using it, and we'd built in a feature that meant that every hiring manager could use it. So why that's important is that we went from having 100 users to having 2,000 users. And so that happened in these 3 to 5 days last year, and at the same time we achieved profitability because in a startup, the startup method we had, which is growth at any cost, and we realised that had to change, and we achieved that in those 3 to 5 days. And we went, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
We've got 2,000 people who love our product using it. We're profitable. Now we've got the base that we need to take the next big step.
Yeah.
And we've got a fantastic team of people. So everything was happening. We were there. It was really cool. And we also achieved the fact that we had one customer or two customers we'd built our product around, and we had to demonstrate that someone else wanted to buy it, not just the people who had had it for 4 years. And we did that. All of that happened in that 3 to 5 days, and it was a good feeling.
Riding a high then.
It would have been, and if we'd had a big runway, we would have kept going.
Nice. All right, Dale, I want to thank you so much for your time and your valuable expertise, experience and advice that you've given today. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's been really fun talking about it.
If our listeners want to get a hold of you, ask you some questions, is that possible?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to know how to spell my last name.
It's a test. No, we'll put it in the show notes.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Boxes and Briefs is proudly brought to you by Gilligan Shepherd, the problem solvers in business.